Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga University.
What a pass. Giddey underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Dort. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested Podcast, coming to you live Sunday, December 4th. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. I don't know where everyone else is at. I should have Tayler joining me soon, hopefully. I think he's got a fussy baby. Silva has the flu. Nick's at the Cowboys game. Kamiar has an ear infection and an upper respiratory infection. Justin might just be dead. I don't know. So for right now, you guys have just me, but Tayler should be joining fairly soon. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Appreciate you guys. If you are not part of our live stream chat, I would encourage you to join. Sub to our YouTube channel. Just search YouTube for the Uncontested Podcast. You will find us. Hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live, which is every Sunday, right about 9 p.m. Central Time, and after every Thunder game. Before we get any farther, I want to tell you guys we are proudly part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and dailythunder.com. We missed a post-game podcast last night. Just a lot of family stuff going on with a lot of the guys. So we weren't able to get a podcast up for you after the Thunder defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves in a high-scoring affair, 135-128. It was a really interesting game. Very entertaining. Lots of guys got upsetty spaghetti, including Rudy Gobert. This is why we need Silva on the podcast, so he could cue the sounder of me saying I hate Rudy Gobert. Still a wildly entertaining game that the Minnesota Timberwolves were relatively upset about. The Minnesota Timberwolves fans were upset about. But the Thunder come out with a very high-scoring 135-128 victory. So let's talk about that game for a little bit. I also have some overall Thunder thoughts that we can chat about. We will make predictions for the next week of Thunder basketball. They have 3 road games. They've played 1. They have 3. And then the following week, they'll have 1 more. I believe it's the longest road trip of the season, 5 games. And of course, as every Sunday, we will finish it up with some around the association. But first, let's talk about this Thunder versus Minnesota game. As you guys have questions and comments, please drop them in the chat. I would love to answer those. My first thing from that Minnesota game is undisciplined Wolves. Already mentioned it. Flagrant 2 on Rudy Gobert gets him tossed out of the game. D'Angelo Russell gets thrown out of the game with 2 technical fouls. He got the second one late in the game, like 30 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. 6 total technicals for the Minnesota Timberwolves. At one point, it felt like the refs kind of had like a quick whistle and was like just trying to get a hold of the game, I guess is the best way to describe it. But let's start with the Rudy Gobert ejection, which I thought was justified. I'm also biased. But Kenrich Williams drives in, makes contact with Rudy Gobert, and finishes a layup, and Rudy falls. Don't know what happens after that because Kenrich kind of fell over Rudy's legs. We don't have a real clear indication of what happened there. I assume Kenrich said something. I would say something if I just finished over a 7'1" shot blocker. I'd be talking some trash. I imagine Kenny said something. As he gets up, Rudy Gobert kicks out his leg. Not like a trip, like you kind of just stick your leg in their way so they stumble over it and they kind of trip up. I'm talking like he like swiped the leg like a freaking, I don't know, like an MMA move or some shit. Swipes Kenny's legs. Kenny like loses all control, doesn't have anything on the ground, and falls on his side. Immediately gets up to like get up in the face of Rudy Gobert, who's still on the ground, and Rudy's reach is ridiculous, and went directly for Kenrich Williams' throat and grabbed him, and then Kenny is like knocking him out of the way and like standing over him. Everyone comes running in and rushing in, ready for the smoke. Thunder coaches got out there really fast to split it all up. Everyone gets calmed down. We go to the monitor for like half a day. And it is determined that Kenrich Williams gets a technical foul. Rudy Gobert gets a flagrant 2 and is tossed. And so that left the Wolves with no Rudy Gobert, no Karl Anthony Towns. Really the only center left on roster was Naz Reid, a guy that I'm a fan of. If you listen to last Sunday's show, there's Tayler texting me saying I'm not on the podcast, knucklehead. If you listen to last week's show, I talked a lot about how I'm a big fan of Naz Reid. I'd like him as like a backup big for the Thunder next year behind Chet Holmgren. You could bring him in this year to solve some of the problems of not having a big. Naz Reid finished out the game for at center for the Timberwolves. They also played some Kyle Anderson, some slow-mo at backup 5 as well, just trying to make do with whatever they had. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But no Rudy Gobert meant that the floor was opened up on both ends. The Thunder, after that point, had a really easy time getting to the basket. It also opened up the floor for Minnesota offensively, so Anthony Edwards could drive to the basket, and Anthony Edwards immediately took advantage of that. He ended the game with, I'm trying to find a stat line here, 26 points on 10 of 22 shooting. He only took 6 threes, which means he took 16 shots inside the three-point line. That dude has a beautiful little slowed down Euro step where he can just get around anybody. Really pretty stuff. But as I mentioned, the refs had a short whistle after that. I think it was D'Angelo Russell started talking trash to the refs, got a T. Anthony Edwards, same thing, got a T. Jaden McDaniels threw the ball off the stanchion. He got a T. They were handing him out like it was candy on Halloween night. So, but relatively undisciplined by the Wolves. They were frustrated. I get that. They did not channel their frustration very well, I don't think. Kind of speaks to why they're not a great basketball team. You know, I mean, they got a lot of talent, but undisciplined, that's a big problem. My next note, SGA is at it again. This man had 9 free throw attempts in the first quarter alone to the Minnesota Timberwolves' 6 free throw attempts. So, I mean, just Shea finally kind of getting that respect, going to the basket, attacking the hoop. Really nice to see. Shea's ending line for the game, he played 35 minutes, 10 of 17 from the field, just ridiculously efficient. 33 points. He was 12 of 12 from the free throw line. Only 1 rebound, but 6 assists, 3 steals, and a block. Actually ends the game a -6. Only 2 other guys were worse than him. Lou Dort a -7 and Darius Bazley a -9. It was, just another masterclass by Shea. There was a point, I think it was in the third or halfway through the fourth. I can't really recall now, but where he just got in his bag and had it going. My favorite move was Anthony Edwards wanted to guard him and bully him, and Shea had him posted up at the free throw line, bumped into him a few times, and Ant totally thought the turnaround jumper was coming. So Shea picked up his dribble, turned around, and showed, and Ant went flying, and Shea, from the free throw line, does that step through up and under from the freaking free throw line and finger rolls it right at the rim. Just absolutely ridiculously beautiful. He was phenomenal. That kind of leads into my next point, which is Josh and Shea coexisting. Kamel in the chat here says, shady, just begin the process. I like that, shady. It's a lot better than shitty, which is what people have been calling them. It really felt like, hey, look who decided to join me.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. I've been soloing this damn thing for the past 10 minutes. Tayler, I'm just now talking about the coexistence of Shea and Josh last night.
Beautiful.
it felt like there was some very intentional moments where they were trying to get each other going. One of my favorite ones at some point in the second half, it all kind of bleeds together for me. Thunder are inbounding beneath the basket that they're scoring at. Shea comes off the screen, curls down the lane. Josh throws a beautiful pass.
Yes.
Shea catches it, goes up and lays it up, then yells at Josh and reaches out and slaps him on the butt on his way down the court.
I believe, wasn't that in the fourth quarter?
I think so. It might have been. And then a few possessions later, Shea drives in and then intentionally like kicks out to Josh in the corner for three.
That was the fourth. Yep.
Gable's got a great nickname here. Chet plus Shea plus Josh equals Slim Shady.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
That might be a t-shirt idea.
Yeah. The coexistence of those two, it felt like they were really intentionally working off of each other last night, trying to get going. There have been times this season where just the vibes have felt kind of weird. It feels like Josh is handling the ball. Shea's like clapping or like has his hands up, and Josh tries to go into an action in another way. And it's like, does Josh not want to pass to Shea? Does Josh only want to pass to guys that are like cutting and moving? What's going on here? Last night, it felt like they were very intentional trying to get each other going. And the result was pretty damn good, Taylor.
It was extremely good. I think them being able to I tweeted this out, just kind of halfway being funny, halfway just being extremely excited. I only got to watch the fourth quarter, starting with the JDub takeover, which we'll obviously get into. And then I went back today and did a little more deep diving, thankfully. But from what I saw, it stood out even in the fourth quarter. And like you said, Jacob, I think it definitely was intentional. But what was exciting is like there were a couple plays that you could tell were intentional, trying to get each other involved. But then it started to become a little more natural, especially there towards the end of the fourth, closer into the clutch. Like Giddey's getting open off ball. Shea's finding him. It was the right play. It wasn't forced or anything, right? It wasn't like they were having to force it to each other. It started to come a little more naturally as the game progressed. And that was really exciting for me to see, as well as something else you touched on. And this isn't very basketball analytical of me here, but the reactions afterwards. You mentioned Shea's reaction. I was going to mention that as well. The smiling really big, slapping Josh on the butt after saying something. They're both excited. After Giddey hits that three, he's smiling ear to ear, and he does something. I don't know if he points to Shea or what it was, but he said something as well. You can tell that it's something they really wanted for each other and wanted for the team. And I thought that was really cool. There was a comment that Josh had, I believe, this might have actually been 2 games ago. He kind of mentioned something like, this is the team that we can be I guess 2 games. Would 2 games ago been the Rockets blowout? Starting to lose.
No, that's like 4 games ago.
Oh man, never mind. Well,
yeah.
Anyways, Giddey had a quote post game here not too long ago where he mentions like he mentioned everybody being involved, how deep and how good this team can be. It almost felt like a little slide at Shea. I didn't like it much. So to see that game last night, I think it was just kind of heat of the moment post game interview. He didn't mean it like that. But it was really good to see, really promising and exciting for us Thunder fans who I've been a little worried about how it had been going so far this season.
It also helps to get each other going when Josh shoots so well.
Great point.
8 of 16 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. Josh had 21 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Just doing a little bit of everything last night. Really good to see. And I think that duo, that backcourt, I mean, Josh said in another interview after a game the other night, something about like, we're going to be a really great backcourt together for a really long time. Something about that. Like, we're continuing to grow. We're going to get it right. Our chemistry is growing. I don't think that's lip service. I think they really are working on it. And nights like last night, you really see it. And that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that. I think you made up a good point there, Jacob. Josh being 8 of 16 from the floor, you'd love to see, and 3 of 7 from the floor, or from 3. I think it's really important. We haven't really seen him take that many 3-point shots, especially when he's not making them. I'm not sure you even want to, but on a night like last night where he is, I think that's a great number for him. But the reason that sticks out to me so much is he shot 3 of 7 from 3. He had 7 3-point attempts. He shot 8 of 16 from the floor. But Shea's numbers didn't go down. 33 points on 10 of 17 shooting. I know you are already touched on Shea a bit here. 12 of 12 from the free throw line. Like Shea is still doing his thing. He's still able to play his game. And it just shows, there's still room for Josh to be able to do his thing as well. And they can coexist, and they can even thrive off each other at times. So how does this continue to look now that they've kind of seen the high here, right? We kind of saw in that Phoenix, was it the Phoenix game last year where they both played really well together?
Yeah,
and,
right after the All-Star break.
Yeah, and they never.
I think they're starting to find something here, and that's exciting. I mean, it's very easy to just say like, yeah, Shea passed to Josh and he hit a three, like whoop de damn do. No, like you could feel like there was a vibe last night. That's as far away from analytics basketball as you can get. But I mean, there was just a vibe. There was an energy, and that's really what you need.
So what you're saying is we need Kenny Hustle to get players thrown out every game and get these guys fired up. And
there you go. My next point on the game last night, Tayler, and Nick had a tweet about this earlier today. Lou Dort starting to find a stroke. Lou was 6 of 12 last night, 3 of 4 from 3, had 18 points, guarded Anthony Edwards for most of the night, which is a really, really hard cover. Ant-Man is he's just good, dude. But really I'm trying to pull up this stat that Nick had real quick. He said Lou Dort's 3-point efficiency. First 11 games, Lou was 20.6 from 3. Last 12 games, Lou has been 45.8%. Wow. There was one that I wasn't a big fan of last night, which was, I think it was in the second quarter. The Thunder kind of got a fast break, got a rebound, a kick ahead to Lou with like 21 seconds left on the shot clock. He pulls just off to the right of center of like a straightaway three. He's not like at the top of the key, but more like a little at the elbow.
Yep.
Yeah, but still above the break. Fires it up, but makes it. Ends up going 3 of 4 last night. When Lou can shoot the three, I'm still not a big fan of. I like it when Lou drives because he's like literally like a pinball in there.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes in there and dudes just fall off of him. There's a highlight you can look up from last night. First half where Lou drives in, goes for a layup, gets fouled. Jaden McDaniels is on the ground. Naz Reid is on the ground, and Lou's just standing there because he's the only one that didn't fall over.
And he was the one with the ball. It's like a running back.
Some of the decision making, I'm not a huge fan of. He's got a lot of work to go there, and I don't think we need like Lou ISOs. Speaking of ISOs, I don't need to watch Darius Baisley dribble the ball 45 times and try to do a spin move. God, if you made me take a shot every time Baisley dribbles the ball when he shouldn't, I'd be dead. But anyways,
on that note, 14 minutes, which is the second least behind Ousmane Dieng, who's obviously a rookie.
And I thought Uzi played pretty good too. But the 3-point shot coming around for Lou, really big for this team.
Could not agree more. And I think you described that well, Jacob, where there's a difference. And actually going back to Nick's stat, I see a difference from what I saw last night, especially going back and rewatching or actually watching the game this morning, compared to what we saw earlier in the season where he wasn't shooting as efficient. A lot more forced shots, a lot more off the dribble 3-point attempts, where last night, for example, his first 2 3-point attempts are corner threes where he's open and his teammates like Josh, they might have both been from Shea, but it was Shea and JRE. They both find him open in the corner. When he's moving off ball, he's getting open like that. Like his teammates are going to find him. We don't need, to your point, Lou dribbling up and trying to pull off the dribble 3-point shots. He's naturally going to get open when some of these guys like Shea and Giddey are playing like they are. JDub is playing like he is. That's going to open up the floor for Lou. It's going to get him those shot attempts. And when he's taking them within the flow of the offense, it's huge. And like we saw last night, I think that opens up the rest of his game. 6 of 12 from the floor, 50%, very efficient, just kind of like the other two guys that we were talking about earlier. It's going to open up his driving game as well, which I think is really important also. So I really like the balance that we saw last night from all the players, really, and their shot distribution. So, but specifically Lou, I would kind of like to see it stay around this rather than those, 2 of 7 from 3. Yeah. And 3 of those are off the dribble 3-point attempts.
It helps the offense so much more whenever the starters have another shooter out there. It really does.
That's a great point.
And yeah, the threes he is taking now seem like they're better shots. I mean, that's a massive piece to have. That's what you paid him for, right? That's what you signed him to that extension for. Before we get to this last point, Taylor, anything else besides, I know you're in my document, so you can see what my last point is. Before we talk about my last point, any other quick hitters from that game you want to talk about?
Have you talked to, well, I see two more. Have you talked about, which one are you saving? Let's put it that way. Of the last two.
The second to last one.
Yeah. That's
so cryptic on the podcast today.
I know. I mean, people know what we're alluding to.
The defense. Let's talk the defense real quick, which hasn't been great. Had a few good games.
A good start to the season as well.
Yeah, the New Orleans game was a good one. Yep. The first half of the Spurs was burn it and never watch it again. Second half of the Spurs was chef's kiss beautiful. This one, not so great. Thunder are down to 18th in net rating. Not net rating, defensive rating. So they've climbed up a little bit, but they were starting the season like 8th. In defensive rating.
And at this point of the season last year, they were, I believe, top 10.
So what are you seeing from the defense that's a problem?
I continue to come back to something that I think you've done a much better job kind of articulating on the podcast than maybe what I could, but it really comes down to defense rotations. And I think that even goes further back to not having a true big defensive anchor down low. For all those years,
Minnesota had 68 points in the paint last night.
That'll do it, right? So when you're having to rotate and try and compensate for that, you're leaving open guys on the outside. Which, even if you don't have an incredibly good 3-point shooting team, like for example, Minnesota went 10 of 30 last night. They're only shooting 33% from outside, but that's creating ball movement, additional second chance opportunities for the offense. It's creating new angles for the offense that they otherwise wouldn't have if you had somebody who can essentially have your back when a defender or when a offensive player gets behind you.
I mean, that's how the Utah Jazz used to play defense with Rudy Gobert.
Donovan Mitchell.
Blitz people outside, make them drive into the shot blocker because you have such good rim protection, such good paint defense,
and hopefully I think them to hopefully create turnovers because of that.
Exactly. And I think you've hit the nail on the head that like sometimes points in the paint, you would think, oh, this team doesn't have a good defensive big. Teams are going to score inside on them. The Thunder are intentionally trying to not let guys score inside of them. So they double, they rotate in, and that leaves corners and elbows open for 3-point shots. And so the Thunder start getting killed by 3, and you're thinking, what's going on? That's a byproduct of not having good interior defense. It's just going to take a while for the Thunder to get there, specifically until next year when you get Chet in. Once you get Chet, like it solves so many of these problems.
It does. It solves a tremendous amount of these problems. I do wonder though if we still will see some of them. Like Chet, going back and scouting him, I mean, he was a little slow when it came to the coming out on the perimeter. Obviously, you don't necessarily want him to do that as too much, but even then
he can switch out a little bit, but his drop coverage is elite.
Yes, that's true. The drop coverage is huge. I worry a little bit about the size and the strength. You still might have somebody coming down, having to shadow and help him a little bit with some of the bigger offensive players. But I mean, to your point, something you mentioned earlier, after the Thunder selected him, Jacob was like, okay, we're talking about 4, 5 centers. You're essentially having to do that for throughout the season. So no, I agree. I think a lot of these problems will be addressed. But kind of going back to you and Nick's podcast you guys did last Sunday, it will be fascinating to see if Presti, my assumption is Presti's fine just letting this ride out, right? Because it's some of it's going to lose to losses, which help the Thunder's lottery odds. And, it kind of helps the timeline line up a little more. But on the other end, with guys like Shea playing like he is, JDub looking as ready to contribute as he is, Giddey starting to figure it out more. Maybe kind of to your guys' segment last week, Presti is a little more intrigued about going and getting somebody who fits this scheme, but also could play behind and even with Chet moving into next season. So it'll be fascinating to kind of watch that moving forward. But long answer short, I think that truly is the main issue here. And I haven't seen anything new or additional. Did you see anything new or additional last night that you think led to some of that poor defense?
Not necessarily. Besides, Anthony Edwards just torched him.
True. Yeah.
That was the big one.
He's really damn good.
Before we get to the last point, which is going to bleed over into our next kind of segment of the podcast, I do want to go through and hit some of these questions. First one, Devin says, checking in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's awesome. What's up, Devin? If you guys are in the chat, drop where you're watching from. We'd love to see. Tyler says, when you guys get to questions, why not play Giddey at the 4? He's big enough to set screens and could secondary playmaker like Draymond. Am I crazy?
No, not at all. I think it kind of comes down to some of the guys who are playing alongside him and also Giddey's defense. Giddey's defense really has not been great this season at all.
Yeah,
I thought it was a little better last night, but sorry.
No. There's some stats that show that Josh is actually guarding up more this year versus guarding guards. He's been guarding more wings and forwards. So I think, and Mark mentioned before the season started, they think Giddey has the frame to put on a lot more weight. Like Giddey might end up playing at like 235, 240, 3-4 years down the line. If that's the case, I think he does effectively play power forward defensively.
True. And I will say this just quickly. We keep alluding to this. The guy we're about to talk about, when he's playing at this level on both ends of the floor, you can slot him in at the other wing position, the 3 or the 4, it doesn't really matter, and slide Giddey down to more of a 4 on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. Next question in the chat. Hustle on D says, was it just me or was Giddey being used like a forward / off ball a lot yesterday? A little bit. I feel like that was part of that trying to coexist with Shea though.
Yep, exactly.
Gable says Austin Rivers yelling "wake up" to the refs was comedic gold. Totally agree with that. That was incredible.
The Rivers family and NBA is
yes,
quite the relationship.
Our guy JD is here. Said he's here in spirit.
Get your flu shot.
And get your flu shot.
Man, Blue took me out last week. Took Baby out last week. Took Silva and Kamiar out this week. It's going around.
Meek Leak trying to beat us to the punch here. Said JDub's going to be a star. The kid played 20 minutes off ball with 0 stats and exploded in the 4th when he gets the keys. He will deliver. We're going to talk a lot on JDub here in just a moment. Kamel says, watching Josh, Poku, JDub, and Dort step up, what could our future lineup be? I love a lineup next year. Taylor, I don't know how you feel about this. Of like Shea, JDub, Josh, Poku, Chet.
Yep.
That gets me incredibly excited. Meek Leak asks, is a Bays trade coming? I've been on the record. Yes, on that. Do you have any?
One.
Yeah, I think eventually he will get moved off.
I do too.
Kieran says he's listening from Albany, New York. That's awesome. T from Miami.
All right.
Meek Leak coming in from South Island, New Zealand, which is dope. Thank you guys so much. So, Taylor, the last point of last night's game, which also bleeds over into my big Thunder thought for today. Jalen Williams. Jalen freaking Williams. JDub. This man, Meek mentioned it whenever we were reading through those comments, really hadn't done much of anything last night, stats-wise. 27 minutes in the game. Ends up in the 4th quarter, 11 points, a rebound, 3 assists, 2 of 4 from the free throw line. Got to get a little better at that. But just exploded. I legitimately think the Thunder won this game at the beginning of the 4th quarter in that JDub takeover.
They did. They went, I believe, this off the top of my head, I believe they went +7 in non-Shea minutes. They were down, I think they were down 3 at the end of the 3rd quarter when Shea was out, ended up up 4 when Shea came back in. And to your point, Jacob, what you're getting at is that was because of the JDub takeover. He essentially took on the Shea role there to start the 4th.
The stuff he was doing was ridiculous, dude.
I mean, he just getting to the rim at will, drawing fouls whenever he didn't make the shot. He made about 2 or 3 straight before they finally fouled him. Got to the line, I think 2 times in a row. In between there, he's dishing out to teammates like, the Timberwolves defenders trying to pick up on it. they're starting to double down on him when he's driving into the paint. He's kicking out, and I think there was an incredible pass. I'm trying to remember who it was.
I got
was
this
it Kenny?
one. Yeah, it was Kenrich kicked out to JDub on the wing, who went. He was on the right side, went left hand, drove in, drew a second defender, got in the air, and split the two defenders, drop off the pass. I'm not exaggerating. Maybe his most impressive play of the season. I have no clue how he slipped that ball through there.
Me either.
An absolutely insane dime. Like,
and this is after he's like, or in the midst of a scoring streak. Like most rookies even are trying to score that ball. And that was
so he hits a three.
Play.
He had, I think, two of those where he goes across the paint right to left with his left hand and then turns back and opposite hand, like push shot with his right hand floater. He had a three in there. He had those dimes. Man is going crazy. The one time he lets out the primal roar and gets fired up is when he drew the charge
on the ground. Yep.
Yep. When he drew the charge and got the offensive foul called. He is awesome, Tayler.
He's so. I mean, I don't want to jump the gun here. What I was about to say will lead into the next segment, but it's specifically to last night's game. I agree with you completely.
Well, you can lead into the next segment for sure. Let's go into it because JDub Rookie of the Month for November, and that includes the ending of October as well when the season started. Now it means he was the best rookie in the Western Conference. I mean, he probably got a big boost on that, going for 27 points the last night of the month.
No kidding.
But I mean, just went berserk, dude.
Yeah, and just really has found his stride. I think the most impressive thing for me with JDub is kind of a microcosm, if you want to call it that, of his college career. We've talked a lot about his journey getting to Santa Clara and at Santa Clara. He is under-scouted as a rookie, maybe it's the right term. He's not given many offers. He decides to go to Santa Clara, which I believe isn't too far from home, and obviously is a great basketball school. But the really only huge name to come out of there is Steve Nash. And so he comes in his rookie year. His freshman year, he's able to gain playing time based off his effort and his defense and his basketball IQ. That's kind of what we saw early this season, right? And then, as the season, or as his college career progresses, he's handling the ball more. His junior and senior year, he's playing point guard. He has a huge growth spurt, which kind of began, I guess, around his freshman year. And by his last year there at Santa Clara, he's the primary guy. He's the go-to scorer and the playmaker. And we saw that again. Just he's able to gain minutes and trust from Daigneault early on, which is huge for a rookie, by playing defense and the effort and basketball IQ he brings on both ends of the floor. Now he's getting comfortable enough, even when a guy like Shea is going off or Giddey's playing well, he's able to find his niche and still is able to impact the game at such a high level. And last night, it was scoring the basketball and creating for teammates. Like I said, kind of taking on that Shea role when Shea was out. The fact that he's been able to do that and adjust so quickly just continues to blow me away. And to what I was saying about this next segment, what we've discussed here and wanted to discuss tonight is how has he played relative to expectations. Jacob, you and I have both been, and all of us here at Uncontested, have been very high on JDub. We were excited about him when he was drafted. And even then, I think he's exceeded my expectations. That's kind of what I was getting at.
He keeps earning himself more and more minutes. I think he's fourth on the team in minutes per game. For me, Tayler, and this is something we touched on a lot, the versatility. This man can play backup point guard. He can start at the 4. He's done that multiple times this year. I think his defense is going to be really good. I was very excited in that Spurs game, what Mark Daigneault said post-game about JDub, that they think like defensively he's going to be so good. His size and his wingspan, his length as a wing defender is just something that is really hard to get a hold of in this league. His feel for the game. I had tweeted this about his highlight reel from that Spurs game. You get a little bit of everything. You get passes. You get backdoor cuts. You get 3-pointers. You get blocked shots. You get floaters. You get dunks. He can do a little bit of everything. And it's so impressive to me. I this is kind of blasphemous. There's a little bit of like early, like year 1, year 2 James Harden to his game.
I don't think it's blasphemous. What we saw there is specifically, and again, it's still small sample size. And the segment that we keep talking about, the beginning of the fourth quarter last night, very small sample size. But that's exactly what that was, right? Like that was the James Harden, the OKC James Harden we saw there that allowed the Thunder to get to obviously in addition to Russ and KD, allowed the Thunder to get to the almost at the conference finals, gosh dang it, the finals of the NBA that year. And so it's fascinating. I hope that he continues to have the chances that he's gotten and is able to continue to take advantage of them, because obviously James Harden had a lot more opportunity there. There were not nearly as many mouths to feed as there are this season and as many guys to get burned. So it'll be really fun to follow. Even later in the season, right? Like if Shai's not getting quite as much time or whatever it may be, maybe it's even just experimenting with lineups more. Maybe we see a little more on-ball JDub, because obviously it's very beneficial for this team when JDub has the basketball in his hands.
Definitely. I want to do a little activity, Taylor. Let's before we do that though, I have some stats I want to give to you. Rookie class, points per game, Jalen is 6th, 10.7 a game. In rebounds per game, I don't think he's 13th in rebounds per game. So not bad. Assists, he is 4th at 2.6 assists per game. And then minutes played per game, he is also 6th. Consistently, the guys ahead of him are Paulo, Jaden Ivey, Jabari Smith, Keegan Murray, and Benedict Mathurin. Ben Mathurin has been insane. So not really a redraft. And I want you to, I'm not saying like, who would you take right now? I'm saying if we were to put all these guys back in the draft and you now had 25 games of
how they look in the NBA.
Of NBA minutes to really evaluate them in a draft, and you're still drafting on upside and potential and yada, yada, yada. I'm going to read off the names, and I want you to tell me now, having seen what you've seen, if you could go back to the draft, would you take Jalen Williams over that guy?
Okay.
Yep, again, so the player maybe has sucked for the first 25 games of the season, but you think, yeah, there's still enough upside there that I'd still take him over JDub or whatever. Okay.
Right.
First one giveaway, Paulo Banchero. No.
Yeah, right.
Chet Holmgren.
I'm still taking Chet, a higher upside.
100%. Jabari Smith Jr.
It's already pretty stinking interesting, but I will say, already seeing Jabari start to turn it around.
Jabari will be all right.
I'm still going Jabari, probably over JDub at this point.
Keegan Murray.
This is also very interesting. Gosh. I mean, the homer in me wants to take JDub. I don't think that's the right answer yet, though, given the sample size. I'm still going to go Keegan Murray here.
Jaden Ivey.
Oh, this is fascinating. Jaden Ivey probably has the higher overall ceiling, but I will say, based off what we've seen,
Jaden shooting 31% from the field.
Yeah, and
16, 4, and 4 for Jaden.
I think I would. I think this is where I'm going to go ahead and say I would take JDub over Jaden Ivey.
Wow. Okay. I think I'd still take Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
Benedict Mathurin.
I'm taking Math. I might take Mathurin top 3 in this.
Ben Math is so damn good, dude.
I am on record saying that. And where I messed up here is I went ahead and said that I thought Mathurin would be a wing in the NBA and I would take him over, or that he would be a better wing than Jabari Smith Jr. So I kind of messed up there. But I know I'm still taking him over Jabari Smith Jr. I feel good about. Anyways, yes, I'm taking Mathurin over
Shaedon Sharpe.
This one's fascinating because Sharpe has looked good, but I would take
Sharpe's also way younger.
True. I think
his stats look nice, but he's also been in an incredibly defined role.
Right. I would take JDub. I think he impacts the game at this point at a much higher level, and much more defined ceiling. it's easier to see JDub ceiling compared to what Shaden Sharp's ceiling could potentially be. I would take JDub here.
Fair. Dyson Daniels.
This is a really hard one.
Dyson's good. Yeah.
It,
I think I'm with you on Shaden. I think I'd take JDub based off what I've seen so far. I think I would also take him over Dyson. I think Dyson's going to be really good, but it's a kind of like, what do you want more? Do you want like a 3-point shooting, has some good defense, ball like good passer type of guy, or do you want a jack of all trades? Is going to be able to do a little bit of everything
and also be a bit of a scorer. I think that's why I like JDub's upside a little more than Dyson Daniels.
And the size of JDub I think is important too.
Agreed.
Jeremy Sohan.
Taking JDub.
Same. Johnny Davis.
JDub.
Johnny Davis stats for the season: 8 games played, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Folks, that's not averages. That's totals.
Oh my gosh.
1.1 point, 0.6 rebounds, 0.3 assists. Johnny Davis is struggling. Usman Jang.
Love Jang. Love the Jang gang. But obviously JDub.
Yeah. And then after that, obviously you have Jalen at 12. And then everyone you look at afterwards, I would take
over JDub.
Or I would take JDub over them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Durant, Agbaji, Mark Williams, AJ Griffin, Tari Eason, all the way down the list. So we had like 4 to 5. So we have technically in a redraft, we'd have JDub going like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
That feels pretty fair.
I mean, he's been awesome. 6 the year before. And so you have Shea, a top 6 player, a top 7 or 8 player, like you said, in this draft, plus Chet, who's a top 2 pick coming next year. And then whatever you end up with this upcoming draft. That's a heck of a
we don't have time to talk about him, but Usman Jang he came back from the G League and he's playing more confident, more aggressive, getting to the basket, which was my biggest knock for him.
Yep.
It's coming around.
He's exciting.
Big JDub fan here. Tayler, before we hit the ad break and go to Around the Association, I do want to make some predictions for this week. Before we do the predictions for this week, I will say that on Twitter, I threw out that this 5-game road trip, I expected 1-4. You've already got the
already there.
You're playing with house money the rest of the way, man. So that's exciting. 3 games on the slate for this week. First one tomorrow night, Monday, against the Hawks. Some bad vibes with the Hawks right now, especially with Trae Young. Some problematic reporting coming out just about his leadership. Collins, Hunter, and Holiday, all 3 will be out tomorrow night. You do get the star backcourt of Trae and DeJounte, though. Tayler, what is your prediction for Monday night? But before you give me your prediction, just for the record, Nick has that game tomorrow night.
I'm going to say a W. I think they're going to ride off the momentum from last night's game, and I think they're going to get that W.
All right. I'll join you.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I'll take the win for the Thunder. Wednesday night at Memphis. The Grizz are 14-9. There's a chance Adams won't be available. He's listed day to day. And then obviously, oh my gosh, I just went blank. Sorry?
Ja Morant? You said obviously. I was like, Ja?
No, the Desmond Bane. There he is. Desmond Bane is still out. Prediction for Wednesday night. And JD Silva will be covering that game. Might be his flu game.
His flu game, that's right. Hopefully he can actually make it to his, unlike me. I'm going an L on Wednesday. To be full transparency, I'm taking L on the next 2. I think they probably lose out. But hey, 2-2 for that stretch is pretty impressive.
Definitely. Saturday night at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Looks like Justin will be with you guys for that post game. Cavs are 15-9, third in the East. 2 explosive guards, lots of size. You look at Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Kevin Love, lots of size for the Thunder to have to deal with. I think we're both going L there as well, right?
Correct.
So that would be 1-2. Thunder are currently 10-13, so that would put them at 11-15 before they come home for that home stretch of like 7 games.
Yeah.
Spend like 2.5 weeks at home, which is really cool. Eamon says, JD covering that game. Hope it's not another 72-point blowout.
True.
It's about the same time of year, same team, same uncontested host covering the game. This got bad news on it, guys.
I'm due now that I'm healthy again for covering for somebody. So maybe I'll just cover that one for Silva.
Kieran says, don't let JD cover any more Grizzlies games. I love it. Absolutely love it. All right. We are going to do an ad break real quick. When we get back on the other side of it, we will take a trip around the association. What's up, Thunder fans? This is Jacob from the Uncontested Podcast, and I'm here to let you know that we have fully redesigned our merch store to get you the best Thunder swag available. Just visit cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested Podcast to find all of our new designs. That's cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested Podcast to find new drops like Josh Giddey's Wizard of Oz or an ode to the Trey Man Step Back. We've also got all the classics like Dortal Combat, Liu Tang Clan, and everyone's favorite MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The best part? You can get any design and the style of apparel you want. So if you're gearing up for the summer and want a tank top, needing a hoodie for the winter in Australia, or you're wanting a Pokemon onesie for your baby, we've got you covered. Make sure to go to cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested Podcast to get your new Thunder gear today. Oh, that's an old Around the Association sounder. Whoops.
Throwback.
I don't even know where you're sitting at.
Before we dive into Around the Association, Taylor, some more people shouting out where they are watching in from.
Love it.
France, Tennessee, South Texas. I don't think we have anyone in Oklahoma City watching this Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. I love it. Worldwide, baby. Worldwide.
Thank you, Eamon. I appreciate the
Kamel said he was going to order a Liu Tang Clan hoodie, but the shop doesn't send out of the U.S.
I didn't know that.
Boo. Huh. Taylor, for Around the Association tonight, I have a in traditional teacher fashion, which apparently Oklahoma is trying to pass a law where you don't even need to. All you need is a high school degree to be a teacher. So,
education turning up.
In typical teacher fashion, I have a pop quiz for you.
Oh boy,
you ready?
I'm already Googling. Got Google ready.
Like a normal everyday public school student would do.
Yeah, right.
Taylor, question number 1. Have the Lakers turned it around? They are 8-2 in their last 10. I don't have that stat pulled up that I wanted. Anyways, they're 8-2 in their last 10. Anthony Davis is averaging, I think, 38 points a game in the last 5. The dude has been absolutely insane. Have they figured it out? Have they turned it around? Or is this just spraying a pile of shit gold?
I think they have figured it out. But the thing is, there's so much riding on. The large reason because of that is because Anthony Davis is being that player again that they thought they were trading for originally. And when he's playing at this level, when he's playing at the level that he was in the NBA bubble, right? And prior to that, which led to that Lakers championship. I mean, this is the Lakers team that you hope to see, that you at least can justify, let's put it that way, of trading those future picks and bringing in additional help and feeling pretty confident that you'll be contending, at least contending for a championship. So with
that's interesting because if they write it out, they get off Russ's money and they can go make a free agent signing.
That's a smart thing to do, though, Jacob. But this is LA. Yeah. This is no OKC.
True. Hey, Russ has been good for them, dude. He had like 15 assists off the bench tonight.
And I think the biggest thing, yes, that and also playing more efficiently. I've been looking at his shot attempts, his box score after each game. He's shooting much. I don't have those stats pulled up in front of me. I wish I did.
He's been shooting the 3 ball better too.
But on top of that, you have guys like Austin Reeves and Lonnie Walker. Lonnie getting healthy and then both of them being able to contribute. I think it's just really, really impressive. I think, what is this? Reeves is flirting with the 50-40-90 season.
Wow.
He's getting starts over Russ. So he's
been good.
What is it? Hillbilly Kobe? It's pretty awesome.
Kieran says, no more Lakers success, please. The fans are insufferable.
That is fair.
I agree. They are insufferable. But have they figured it out, Tayler?
I think they figure it out. I'm a little worried. If Anthony Davis gets hurt again, it all goes away. It goes back away.
I think that's fair. But for right now, they're doing good stuff. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Question number 2 on the pop quiz. Should the Chicago Bulls blow it up? The Chicago Bulls, who are currently 12th in the East, 9-14. They are a game and a half out of the play-in tournament. They are 3 games out of the 6th seed to become locked into the playoffs. Lonzo Ball, for all we know, might just be dead.
Yeah, it's not great. Not great at all. I'm very torn on this. I think what the Bulls are likely to do is try to find a trade again for Vucevic and hopefully bring in additional help and kind of reconstruct the roster around their stars like DeRozan and Levine and
they traded Wendell Carter Jr. and multiple picks and got the worst player in the trade.
You think they're regretting that a little bit?
Wendell Carter's been probably awesome.
Pat Will hasn't lived up to the hype that everybody had for him. I mean, I know he's playing. Yeah. He's at least playing this season. But I mean,
they could get something legitimate for Caruso.
Yeah,
he's been awesome.
I think they absolutely. I mean, he is a reason that they've been able to compete like they have been. Caruso and Dragic. That was the other one I was thinking of. They've been really big for them. Those were huge signings, obviously. I don't know if the Bulls go full rebuild mode, but I would be shocked if we do not see some sort of trade for one of those players that we've mentioned. Hopefully Lonzo can get healthy. I mean, that obviously hurts as well, but they just re-signed Billy Donovan to a new contract. They obviously trust in his direction for the team. I'd be very shocked with them making that decision and then going and saying, hey, Billy, you're going to coach a rebuilding team. So I'm going to say no, they don't blow it up, but I think there will be a big move happening for them come to the trade deadline in February.
All right. I like it. Next one, the pop quiz. Do the Wolves regret trading for Rudy Gobert? The Timberwolves currently 11th in the West at 11-12. They are on the outside looking into the play-in tournament. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Just to remind everybody, that trade to get Rudy Gobert, including sending away Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Leandro Bolmaro, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, first-round picks in 2023, 2025, 2027, and 2029, and a swap in 26.
Yeah, I think they are very, very anxious as a franchise right now. This is from The Athletic last night. I'm trying to find exactly here where the Wolves have surrendered at least 135 points in 3 of their last 4 games, all losses, right? And I understand that Karl Anthony Towns isn't playing right now, but you bring Rudy Gobert in hoping to
shore up your defense.
Exactly. We talked about, earlier Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz just being able to play a little more aggressively at point of, when it comes to point of attack defense, because you have somebody like Rudy Gobert back there to defend the rim. That has not been the case for the Timberwolves. And in fact, even when Karl Anthony Towns is playing alongside him, doesn't seem to help much. And so we are not finding that success, even when you have Anthony Edwards still playing at the level that he is. Cat can't stay healthy when he is, even when he is playing. Chemistry isn't great. I think you have to be a little concerned. And there was even a quote here talking about how the Timberwolves locker room was closed off to availability last night after the game, and just some pretty big. We talked about the Hawks and Trae Young, the story that came out earlier today. Some pretty bad vibes coming out of Minnesota as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think of the size of the amount of assets they gave up.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
For Rudy Gobert. Like, you could have gotten a real difference maker, you know? I don't know. Like,
and the technical foul. I mean, obviously the refs play a certain role in that, in terms of how many techs were called last night. But there's obviously a lot of frustration.
Rudy's play was cheap. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And some of those other, like Jaden McDaniels, like, I think some of these guys are just frustrations are boiling over on the court.
Yeah, quick story. I mentioned it before we were on the show. Kenrich said something to trigger Rudy. I tweeted out from the podcast account. I said that Kenrich stood over and said, "You ain't Victor, bitch." And somebody replied and said, "Is this true?"
Is this true?
But put me on record.
Welcome to
Rudy Gobert isn't even the best defending Frenchman.
I like it.
That honor would go to Victor Wembanyama.
Love it.
So,
oh man,
not a big fan. If I'm a Wolves fan,
cue the sounder.
Yeah, no crap, right? That's why we need Silva. If I'm a Wolves fan, I'm just sick at how much they traded to get Rudy Gobert. Taylor, last question on the pop quiz. Have the Sacramento Kings earned the right to get rid of the A in their nickname? No longer the Kangs, but the Kings. For record, the Sacramento Kings currently 5th in the West at 13-9. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're just playing absolutely incredibly. When we look at some of the advanced stats, Kings are 4th in the league in offensive rating. In defensive rating, they are 16th. Like the beam, have the Kings removed the Kangs nickname? Are they for real?
I think the Kings are for real. I'm still not sure what for real means. I don't know if they are a top 4 team in the West or anything crazy, but look, I think they're absolutely making the playoffs this season. I think Nick and I were on board with that coming in. You know, we did our preseason bets, and we both were on board with that coming into the season. But De'Aaron Fox, it's kind of weird. He's putting up very similar stats to Shea. He's obviously doing it in a different way, not quite at the level Shea is. So don't get me wrong. I'm taking Shea any day over De'Aaron Fox, but Fox has been fantastic in his own right. I think
Sabonis has been great.
Legitimate argument for an All-Star game or an All-Star nod. Sabonis has been fantastic. Murray had a really good stretcher. He's kind of struggled as of late, although he's starting to figure it out again. But the depth that this team has.
Yeah, and who's the shooter they got from Atlanta?
Kevin Huerter. Yeah,
Herter's been awesome.
It seems like they finally, some of those trades that they've been making over the however many years that have just not helped, have not fit well. I think some of these guys that they have brought in like that have fit well. Malik Monk coming off the bench, scoring like 30 points here and there. Like they have a really fun team. And I think they're for real. I think, like the beam thing is fun. It gives the fans something to be excited about. It gives the team something to look forward to. There's a lot of, we've talked a lot about negative vibes with some of these teams. Kings have some really fun, positive vibes coming out of there. And those fans deserve it. It's really cool to see after so many years of struggles and pain.
Definitely. Earlier in the chat, Kieran said he's tired of the Lakers. I saw a Lakers fan tweet that said, do like Russ and a pick for De'Aaron Fox. I was like, man, just to be a Lakers fan, just to have such an inflated ego that you believe that that's an actuality. It must be nice, Must be nice. All right. That's the end of the pop quiz, Taylor. Congratulations. It's almost finals week. You've passed the quiz. You're going to pass the class. Any other thoughts before we get out of here?
I think the only other around the league thing around the association thing I can think about is the Trae Young situation. And I just want to be on the record that, look, after watching him a lot when he was in high school here in the OKC area, watching him a lot when he was with OU, I can't say I'm necessarily excited about the idea of him potentially being on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm not on board with some of the fans saying that.
I just need Shea. I'm good. Eamon asked if we heard the NBA on TNT guys call him Shea Alexander Gilchrist.
Shout out Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley wants him to
Shaq.
start. Can't even pronounce his name.
Alexej Poku
Poku. Hold on. I got that right here. Give me just a second. Where is it?
Alexej Pokasevsky.
Alexej Pokasevsky.
So that one was Shaq, but yeah, no, this was Chuck who Shea. What was it? Shea something Gilchrist.
Yeah,
Shea Alexander.
not Michael Kidd Gilchrist. Get out of here. Shea's been incredible, man. Absolutely.
Hey, that's right. The argument was valid. To Chuck's point.
Yes, he does deserve to start. Gable says we need to clip Chuck butchering Shea's name. We will. Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Uncontested. We really appreciate you all. We'll be back with you tomorrow, Monday night, after the Thunder take on the Atlanta Hawks. Nick has that postgame. Nick likes the Atlanta Hawks, so hopefully he's not flying too high if the Hawks win and not being too upset if the Thunder win. So we'll see. But we appreciate you guys so much. Downloads have been through the roof. Interactions have been through the roof. Just the people in the chat interacting tonight has been incredible. So thank you all so much. If you haven't already, follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're all over the place. We got 3 more games for you this week. And then a week from now, 9 p.m. Sunday night, as always. Make sure you join us then for the live stream. Until then, you guys have a great beginning of your week. Enjoy Thunder at Hawks tomorrow. Until then, and as always, Thunder up.